So it looks like maybe time should be up on Time's Up, one of those hashtag Me Too groups that popped up during the Me Too era. Maybe that's still going on. From the Daily Mail. Time's Up charities set up by celebrities as part of Me Too movement spent $1.4 million on salaries, including $150,000 on conferences at luxury resorts. Wow, that sounds nice. So what do we got going on here? Tax filings reveal Time's Up organization raised $3,670,219 in 2018 in its first year of operation, but spent $1,407,032 on salary and only $312,000 and $1 on helping victims. Documents reveal the organization spent more than $157,000 on a luxury retreat. Almost $1 million was spent on legal costs and $288,000 on advertising. A separate legal defense fund claims to have helped 3,000 women during the first 6 months of 2018 at a cost of $1.7 million using money coming from donations. But most of the fund money came from grants made to the Women's Law Center, a separate entity, while just $132,575 came from the Time's Up Foundation. Time's Up Now, the charity's lobbying end, handed over $179,426 to the fund. So that's, as you can see, a fraction of what they're raising. The organization was set to fight up sexual harassment in the workplace in the wake of the Me Too movement. However, less than 10% was spent on helping those women who have experienced sexual harassment. Filings show $312,000 was spent on legal defense funds, while $1.4 million was spent on salaries, and more than $157,000 was spent on conferences at luxury resorts, $58,000 on travel. So this organization relied heavily on Hollywood stars, celebrities during the early days, including Reese Witherspoon, Amy Schumer, Brie Larson, holding positions on its board. You can see here where their money went, the total they raised. Damn these pop-ups. There you go. So the tax filings show that less than 10% of the money they raised went to actually helping victims. 10%. Here's some of the celebrities: Reese Witherspoon, Amy Schumer, Brie Larson. So, according to the Post, huge amounts were spent on executive salaries instead of legal support. Lisa Borders, the lady to the left in the photo, was recruited to head Time's Up but only spent 4 months at the organization after her 36-year-old son was accused of sexual misconduct. Now there's some irony, or karma, whatever you want to call it. Nevertheless, the CEO managed to pull in $342,308 for her salary in 4 months. Let me do some quick math. That's a lot of money. So that's, we're talking about $80,000 a month, unless my brain's not working right now. The chief marketing officer, Rachel Terrace, drew a salary of $295,000 for her efforts during the organization's first year. Treasurer Rebecca Goldman drew a salary of $255,327. That's pretty good, really, when you think about it. Lisa Borders on the left, Rachel Terrace on the right. I gotta do something about this clicking mouse. Tax filings detail how 3,000 individuals were helped by the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund between January and June of 2018 at a cost of $1,747,635. But most of that money came from grants that had been made to the Women's Law Center and not the Time's Up movement. So most of the money they claimed to have spent didn't even come from the donations that were made to them. Only $132,575 came from the Time's Up Now and 179,426 from another branch of that same organization. So there's a photo of the luxury resort in Ojai, California. Wow, it looks like the Hotel California, doesn't it? So it seems, I get the impression from reading this article quickly that hashtag Me Too, hashtag Time's Up. It seems like the people involved with Me Too and Time's Up are only, it's more like me. Because they certainly help, the women they help the most were themselves. You know, the women who really benefited from this organization were the women running it. The CEO, the treasurer, the administration, I guess the travel agents who set up all their trips. Safe, fair, and dignified work for women of all kinds. Okay, that sounds nice, but seems like the Time's Up organization, they provided some really decent level work for their organizers, I would say. They did quite well. So, I don't know about charities. Most of them work like this. You know, if a charity raises $10 million, chances are anywhere between 70 and 90% is going to go to so-called administration and public relations and advertising. After all, they do have to get the word out to raise money, but when they're telling you that the aim is to help certain people, individual people, and almost none of the money is actually going to those people, it seems like, well, what's the point really, you know? Have you ever given to a large organization, charitable organization? I never really have. Because if you look around your community, my experience is that you'll always see on a local scale some small organization or some group of individuals or some individual, they need assistance on a local level, and chances are you know who they are, or you know someone who knows who they are, and you can help that way. Why send your money to some unknown organization run by activists, basically, Me Too activists, Time's Up activists, and fronted by celebrities, you know, thousands of miles away, who you've never met and never will meet, and you don't know what they're doing with the money? Well, you can see here what they've actually done with the money, which is pay themselves really well, and not given out a whole lot of money to actual victims. Of course, what's sexual assault these days has taken on a far broader definition than it used to have. It used to, I'm not a lawyer, not an expert, but if my brain recalls properly, it used to be back in the day that sexual harassment, sexual assault used to have to actually involve, you know, something physical and proximate, actually involving harm. Now jokes are taken as sexual harassment now, and that could be the case in a workplace, I admit that, but you know, times have changed, and but a lot of what passes as sexual harassment these days, from what I've read, is even, say you have young people in a university setting, a school setting, and some guy asks a girl out, and you know, maybe if he's not in her league, in her mind, that's a form of sexual harassment. Or if you had a university pub or bar and some guy says, "Hey babe, can I buy you a drink?" kind of thing, and that's sexual harassment. You know, it used to be called flirting and dating. So you know, times change, definitions change, and a lot of what people are calling sexual harassment is more, I think, in their point of view from a feminist perspective, an activist perspective, which doesn't really match what you would call, what I would call actual objective reality as far as that is known. Anyway, let's carry on here. So a couple of more celebrities here. Jessica Chastain, Mira Sorvino. Okay, fine. Oh, and here we go. The goddess of activism, the patron saint of complaining women everywhere. Actress Melissa Milano's tweet, pictured, which urged women to speak up if they had been sexually assaulted, sparked the Me Too movement. Okay, wow. And Alyssa tweeted, "If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write me too," as a reply to this tweet. And we all remember what happened after that. And maybe some of these people like Harvey Weinstein, I don't know, they deserved what they got. You know, outcast and prosecuted. I'm sure there's a lot of nasty men out there who do these things, especially men in a position of power. But a lot of his victims, quote unquote, were in Hollywood, in Hollywood to get into the film or TV industry. And, you know, sometimes, I'm sure at the time a lot of them knew the rules of the game, so to speak, and that doesn't excuse anyone who abuses power like that. But, you know, anyway, carrying on. I'm not defending anybody like Harvey Weinstein at all, but I am defending all the young men these days who seem to get screwed over in these sexual harassment claims at schools and universities for nothing more than a dirty look or refusing a date or a pickup line gone wrong or something like that. And at the same time, I admit there's let's face it, there's a lot of young male assholes at universities too who do actual harm. But it's important to have evidence and, you know, due process and get to the bottom of these things, not just blanket all men as sexual predators. Anyway, Time's Up had a long statement. I'm only going to read part of it. And that's the bottom paragraph. The non-profit sector, like many women-dominated fields, has long grappled with undercompensation of professional employees and staff. Our compensation and benefit structures are competitive, both to reflect our commitment to the values of fair and equal pay and to attract and retain the very best talent to work to address some of the toughest, most entrenched barriers to gender equity, the statement reads. Okay, I've got a big problem with the word equity. You know, it sounds like equality, but they're two different things. Equality, at least in my definition, my understanding, is equality of opportunity. You start, if you're having a race, you start at the same start line. But equity is something completely different, which I don't agree with at all, which means outcome. So imagine 10 people in a foot race. You all start at the same starting line, and then you run to the finish. Well, normally one person wins. One person is in front, one person wins the race. The outcomes are different. Each of the 10 people will be ranked according to the time they cross the line. But equity is kind of saying, well, no, let's have them all cross the line at the same time. And that may sound good in an ideological perspective. That might make you feel warm in your heart, but it's not really how life works. Life doesn't work like that. If you're trying to give equity to everybody, then basically you're messing with the system, the natural systems for the most part, that determine how much. It doesn't take into account, equity does not take into account how hard somebody works, how many sacrifices they make, or anything like that, or what they're, you know, just anything on a personal level, individual level. It's all on a group level, just as hashtag Me Too and hashtag Time's Up seem to categorize every man as a sexual predator. So anyway, to wrap this up, there's your Time's Up, people. Having a great time on your money. I don't know if you donated to these people. I certainly didn't. But all the money, at least in 2018, now the time frame I'm talking about is 2018. F these ads, that's all I can say. I like the Daily Mail. They got a lot of interesting articles sometimes, but my God, they have more ads on their website than I've seen on any website in my life almost, except maybe a porn website, which I've never visited, I promise. Okay, that's up. Please, I can't get this thing to work. Let's wrap this up. Please like, share, subscribe, and thank you very much. See you.